Hello everybody, my name is Maggie and I'm from Weller Health Education at Lehigh Valley Riley Children's Hospital. What Weller does is we're in charge of making really awesome health programs for people of all ages. Now most of our programs are going to be geared towards students, so kids K through 12. However, today I am talking to you, the parents at home. And unfortunately, I'm bringing up a topic that many of us do not really want to think about, let alone discuss over a video. And that is how to talk to your students at home about school shootings. So again, this is a very uncomfortable topic, something I really hoped in my entire life I would never have to talk about, but with the reality of today, and unfortunately so many school shootings that are occurring, many students are scared, worried about what can happen to them at school. So I want to give you guys some tips, some talking points on how to bring it up, especially if your children at home bring it up after watching the news or hearing about it from their friends. So again, it's a topic I really hoped we would never have to have here at Weller, but it is our current reality. So, like I said, this is just to reassure you guys and reassure your children and just remind them that they are safe at school. So how can we make them feel more comfortable and more safe in their day-to-day basis? All right, let's get started. All right, everybody, so let's get started talking to your child about school shootings. So this video is going to go a little bit differently because I'm going to break it up into sections. So for the first part, we're just going to talk very generally about how to talk to your child about this topic, regardless of age. So for if you have a child who's 4 or a child who's 18, just a couple of tips on how to approach them. Then we're going to have specific tips for parents who have any children under 8, and then children who are 9 and over for the last part. So I'll have it timestamped down below. So this way you can skip over to your section if you want to find something that's a little bit more age specific. All right, so let's get started. So first, just talking very generally for all parents, so regardless of the age of your own child at home. Number 1, take time to listen to your children. All right, sometimes they are trying to tell us things and we may not even realize it. Sometimes we need to take a few moments to check in with them and see how they are reacting to things they may hear on the news. So even if you think your child is not listening, they usually still are. So take those couple of minutes to just see what their first reactions are, to see if they are maybe upset, confused, stressed, or even anxious. Beware of your own stress. So during times where there are school shootings, the entire country is feeling those after effects, myself included. I remember being a teenager when Sandy Hook happened, and it was absolutely devastating. Even at that age, when I was still trying to process that school shootings could happen to children at such a young age. And during these times, you are going to feel very heightened stress. You are going to be probably very upset, maybe even crying yourself. But during these times, parents may be more irritable as well, more impatient, and not even realizing it. I know myself, when I am dealing with times of high stress, I tend to snap a little bit more often to people I'm close to. So even if you are absolutely terrified inside and you want to cry and scream, just be aware of how you are reacting to your own children. Again, you may be doing this completely unconsciously. So just take a second. If you feel like you are getting angry or upset and snapping more often, take a moment to yourself and just kind of take a little bit of a pause. And just remember, your children are confused, all right? They are upset, just like you are inside. But for them, it's definitely significantly more scary because they're the ones who have to go to school and deal with this every day. So even if you are very much upset, just be aware of how your reactions are coming across to your own children. Kids come to us for emotional stability and structure, so we must remain calm and reassuring, even if on the inside we are completely devastated. We have to kind of put on that presentation to our children to make them feel a little bit calmer during these times. All right, so for kids under 8, so these are going to be specific talking points if you have any children who are more elementary age, like I said, 8 and younger, because the way they may react to things like this are going to be much different than your teenagers are going to react to things like this. All right, so for kids under 8, what are some things that you can say? Because you want to make sure you are saying the correct things. We don't want to scare them. We don't want to tell them too much, but they are old enough now where they know something is going on. They know something happened. So ask open-ended questions. So if they bring up the incident, you can ask, well, what did you hear? Or what do you think is happening? What did your friends tell you? What did your teacher tell you? Kind of put the ball in their court. So this way you can sort of gauge how much they actually know. So this way you're not telling them too much. All right, so see how much they actually know. Because like I said, even if you think your children are not listening or paying attention, they usually still are. So kind of get that gauge on what they know to begin with before you delve further into detail. Use simple sentences. Your children are absolutely very smart, they are very intelligent, and sometimes even emotionally mature, but not all children are. So sometimes it's best to keep things on the simple side so we don't confuse or scare them. So you can say, someone hurt people today. All right, we don't want to go in too strong and we don't want to scare them as well. We don't want to say a horrible person murdered children at a school. All right, that's a little too much. Obviously, that is the reality of the situation, and we don't want to lie to them. But we want to make sure we are telling them enough to reassure them, but not too much where they're going to be terrified or even more confused. So leaving it a little bit more open-ended, just saying today a bad man hurt people. Okay? Again, open-ended. Try to keep the news away. So during times like this, our first instinct is to have the news going pretty much 24/7 to find out what's happening, to find out how many people were hurt, if they caught the person who did it. But we have to be aware that children, like I said, are watching. They are listening. So even though you may be eager for updates on this, we have to try to be discreet. So maybe keep the audio down on your phone. If you have to put a headphone in that moment to make sure you can hear but your child cannot hear, that would be a great way to do it. Maybe put something else on the television while you keep looking for updates on your own computer or your own phone. This way it is a little bit separate from what your child is seeing. Next, reassure them that they are safe. So even though you are absolutely terrified that this may happen to your own child at school, we have to make sure that children feel safe when they go to school, even if our current reality is making it more and more unlikely that children do stay safe at school. Again, it's horrible that this is happening. We have to remind them that school is a safe place. This way they can go to school without anxiety and stress and are able to learn the best of their ability. So even if you feel anxious about what's happening, you want kids to feel like the situation is being resolved and that they are going to be safe. Again, even if we think the opposite, even if this happened in your own hometown, we still have to remind them that most of the time, again, I hate that I have to say that, most of the time, many children are going to go to school and be safe. Okay, we have to tell them that. All right, allow them to express themselves. So kids are going to be very overwhelmed by this, just like you are going to be overwhelmed during this. So think about how you feel when these situations occur. I know during every single school shooting that I've been alive for, when I have found out that it happened, it bothered me a great deal on the inside. I was upset, I was stressed, I was anxious, and just in disbelief that this is continuing to happen. That's me as an adult feeling those things on the inside. Now imagine how a kid is feeling on the inside during all of this, knowing that if they go into their school tomorrow, what's to say this won't happen to them? So kids may be upset, and that is okay. It is okay for them to have reactions to this, just like it is okay for you to have reactions to this. They may cry, they may be screaming, crying, they may actually get very quiet, want to be by themselves for a little bit, and they may even act out. Just know that they're not doing these things on purpose to upset you, but they're trying to sort out their own emotions, just like you are trying to sort out your own emotions. When things like this happen, we're all confused and devastated. And just remember that it's much more difficult for a child to handle those feelings, let alone a full-grown adult. So if they are acting out or being disobedient, don't get mad at them. Like I said, even if you're upset, you kind of have to hold that in a little bit. Give them some time to deal with it on their own. Next, make it a normal day. So even though during these times it is the opposite of normal, we have to try to maintain a regular schedule. This gives those children a time where they feel like they have some control over their life still and makes them feel safe in their normal routine. So do a family activity, do something you can all do together. Maybe that will be the night that week you all decide to go out to have a family dinner or see a movie. Find things that can distract them from the current events, but also reassure them that we're still keeping to our normal routine. Again, we all feel safer when we're doing our typical day-to-day activities. All right, now if you have any children who are 9 and over, so those middle schoolers, those teens, how can we talk to them? Because the way you're going to talk to a 6-year-old is going to be very different from the way you talk to a 15-year-old about this. So how do we talk to those upper level children? Number 1, state the facts. All right, they're going to know a lot more than you think, and definitely a lot more than maybe your 7-year-old at home. They probably heard about it from their friends. Every child today nearly has access to the internet at some point during the school day, whether it's a computer at school, their own phone, their friends have a phone. So they will probably hear about this even sooner than you will, just because of their constant addiction to the internet and checking in on their phones. So if they've heard about the incident, ask what they've learned. Again, just like with younger children, try to get a gauge on how much they know. If they don't know, start with, I need to tell you that there was a school shooting today. All right. I wouldn't sugarcoat it. I would just be honest, but still empathetic. You don't want to scare them, but you want to treat them as the age that they are. They are maturing, they are older, and they are old enough to understand what is happening. Next, check in. So after you have this discussion and after a couple of hours or even a couple of days have gone by, making sure you are taking the time to check in on them and see how they're feeling. They may want their space. They may not want to talk about this at all. Have the conversation when it feels right. So if they feel like if you feel like they're shutting down and they don't really want to discuss it at that moment, take some time and come back later. It is okay. There is no pressure for them to talk about it. They may not want to ever talk about it, but just know that you are open and you are available for when they do want to talk. Read their cues. So, like adults, even kids can kind of feel fatigue from this. So, look out for information overload and just stress overload. So, during the pandemic with COVID, people were actually experiencing something called COVID fatigue. It was kind of this point where we were at our limits for dealing with COVID. People just couldn't take it anymore. The same thing can go for this, because when things like this occur, it heats up pretty much everybody, from politicians to people who are actually involved in education to parents and even kids at home. It's something that everybody will be talking about. It'll be all over the news for weeks on end. So we can kind of reach a little bit of an overload with this. So just be aware and keep an eye out for when your kids are reaching their overload. If you can tell they're getting a little sick of hearing about it, maybe keep it to yourself for a while and just discuss it with your partner or other family members. We don't always want to be bombarding these kids with a high stress topic, especially when they experience their own stresses from school. Next, encourage them to express themselves. All right, kids sometimes need prompting, all right, especially those teenagers. They're not always going to want to have these conversations or express their emotions when they are feeling these high stress moments. So ask questions like, how do you feel about this issue? Do you have any questions? This kind of opens up that kind of doorway for them to express how they're feeling in a safe but assured environment. So being empathetic, but just letting them know you are there to discuss. Next, talk about emergency drills. So many districts all across the country, and even around the world too, are putting active shooter drills in place so students and faculty get some training or get some direction on what to do when these situations occur. So make sure they understand the importance of following those procedures. Teenagers especially may use that as a time to goof off with their friends. Again, as teenagers do, trust me, I'm in a lot of schools, so I see how they may act during fire drills and shooter drills. So just remind them that may not be the proper time and place to be chatting with your friends. That may be a time where you really need to focus and listen to what your teachers and other faculty members are telling you and how to prepare for those types of things. During those situations, that can be very triggering for a lot of students. So just remind them to stay calm, give them some really great techniques on how to manage anxiety if they have it, and just tell them that these procedures are in place for a reason, all right? It is a time where your ears should be open and you should be listening to what faculty members have to say. And finally, everybody, help them feel secure. Just like with younger kids, it is very difficult. It's important for kids of all ages to feel that they are safe, so tell them that. Even if on the inside you feel the opposite and you are terrified for their well-being, we have to make sure kids aren't going to school terrified for their own well-being. We have to make sure they're going to school and going to an environment where they're able to learn and listen safely. So make sure you remind them that. Tell them that you're always there for them. You'll be there a phone call away. And also that the authorities are investigating so that the person who unfortunately did that shooting will be caught and will be arrested. So just remind them that they are secure and they are safe. Okay? All right, everybody, so I hope you learned a new technique or a new talking point on how to talk to your children about this topic. Again, this is a topic I hoped I would never have to discuss with parents or children in my career. It's something that we don't want our reality to be, but unfortunately, it currently is. So, again, we want to make sure our children are safe at school, and the first step is to have great conversations with them at home. Remind them that you are available, you are empathetic, and you are able to listen. All right, everybody, so I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and feel free to check out some of our other videos or subscribe to our channel for other great health topics on how to talk to your children about a variety of things that have to do with their body, their environment, and their education. All right, everybody, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!